He just came in this morning. Not a moment too late.
What do you think about coming down to the games? Maybe tell some stories. That was the offer and the challenge Tony Budding gave us in the spring of 2009. He wondered what two professional journalists would make of the third annual CrossFit Games, whether the characters and plots that emerged and amazed him in the preceding 2 years would resonate with people who were paid to decide every day which stories were enough to get to air. He was also convinced there were stories, maybe hundreds of them, that slipped past the cameras of his own media team as they scrambled to cover the story of the Games itself. We agreed, of course, and set out to find some angles. What we found in the early hours of Friday morning was that our expectations were misplaced and inadequate. After just a few early encounters with volunteers and affiliate teams, we realized that the dozens of hours of videotape we carried to Aromas wouldn't be enough to tell the stories we wanted to tell. Back home in Toronto, people ask me about the Games. My answer always seems to fall short. I tell them I saw Canadians and Colombians, Australians and Icelanders, Marines, moms, teenagers, and those were just the competitors. We'd been CrossFitting for 3 years. We'd seen the videos, we'd been to the certs, we'd drunk the Kool-Aid, and still we were overcome by the experience of the Games. The Games themselves seemed to wash right over us. There was more heart than in any professional sport and more grace in that competition than in any other athletic contest we'd ever seen. And it was more than a fitness competition. We shot 14-hour days and ate almost nothing. The community seemed to sustain us. And while the fire breathers were thrilling, it was a competitor's breakdown that really inspired us. In the late afternoon of the final day, I hurried through the shade of the shop, rushing to find a spot to shoot the final event with the few minutes of tape I had left. I paused by the physio table where James Fitzgerald was being worked on to wish him good luck. Only OPT wasn't being worked on. He was being consoled. His body had reached its limit, and his muscles were in spasm. Here was one of our biggest stories, one of the leaders and a crowd favorite, weeping on a padded table as if broken on the wheel of the Games. 40 feet away, competitors in the final heat were lining up to enter the arena. On the stadium floor, there were plates, bars, rings, skipping ropes, and a running clock. No playbooks, no pinch hitters, no egos, just work. The competitors were either fit enough or they were not. What we were unprepared for as journalists was the raw emotional impact of a competition that so perfectly combined strength and character. OPT's tears were simply an expression of a deep-seated yearning to compete, like a sled dog straining in the traces. We take the word arena from the Latin word for sand, the stuff scattered on the ground of the Colosseum to soak up blood spilled by gladiators. In the sandy hills of Aromas, there was plenty of blood spilled at the CrossFit Games in 2009, and there will be more spilled next year. And we'll be there, because the last time we saw him, OPT was on his feet.